Good day to each and everyone. Today I will be sharing to you the common external factors affecting school of assignment and the key learning points that we have realized and discussed during our group sharing. Group 4 is TI, class 37. The first factor that we consider is the closure of the neighboring private schools. It is indeed true that many of the private schools in our community close door against their students. That is why there is an increase in our enrollment in the public school. And we realize that when parents are confronted with financial crisis, they tend to enroll their siblings in the public school. When the challenge in education is hard, we who are in the public schools are their final refuge. The second one is the slow internet connection. When COVID struck, what plays in the mind of educators is that education could only continue by the use of technology. That is, online classes is of greater help in order for us to be safe with the presence of COVID-19. But in our country, our connection is very slow. Online classes is not possible. And then we realize that as early as today, the country's technology is not yet ready to respond to the call of time like in the case of COVID-19. And we need to address this problem so that when another similar incidents like COVID-19, we can go on with education using online classes. And the third one is the unavailability of qualified home and community learning tutors. With the unavailability of the home learning tutors, students do not have the opportunity to have a qualified learning tutors. We learned that in times of COVID-19, distance learning works not just in the hands of the teacher alone, but also with the unable participation of the stakeholders who commit themselves to educate our children. Partnership is of vital importance to triumph over cases like the presence of COVID-19. And the fourth one is the low economic status of the parents. COVID-19 risk the livelihood of our parents. That is why many of them ended up with no job anymore because their company are closing. As a consequence, they are very busy to find their own living and could not assist their siblings in doing the schoolwork. And we realize that parents are considered as the potential home learning tutors. If they find it hard to meet routines every day, there is a greater tendency that they do not have time to help their kids learn their lessons in a distance learning.
To continue, that is true, Sir Rogelio, that these external factors are really common in our schools, which happened during the surge of pandemic, and they greatly affect the teaching learning delivery of among the learners and even to the teachers. One of these factors is the closure of the neighboring private schools. The second is the slow internet connection, and the last one is the unavailability of qualified home and community learning tutors. So I would like to share also my insights for each factor. In the closure of the neighboring private schools, of course, uh, the root cause of the closure of private schools is the uh, the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, because private schools, they are run by businessmen, no? And most of these schools, and due to the effect of COVID-19 to the economy, so the businessmen were really affected, and as a result, no, so some of our neighboring schools uh, in my workstation closed uh, gradually. They started from the retrenchment of teachers, and then when the population of their schools, since some of the parents could no longer afford to send their children in private schools, so the retrenchment of teachers, because of the decrease of the population of the private schools, then eventually it led to the closure of private schools in our uh, neighboring schools near my workstation. Uh, it's because also the business owners were economically wise and practical. So instead of sending their children to private schools, they sent their children to the neighboring private schools, like here in our school. No? So the transfer of private school students to the public schools, that resulted to the increase of enrollment in the public schools. The second external factor is the slow internet connection. We know that here in the Philippines, the internet connection is really poor. And that is the only hope of the Philippine education during the height of pandemic. Supposedly in the distance learning modality as an alternative. And in order to continue the teaching learning process, the internet connection is the best alternative and the best intervention. However, again, the internet here is very poor, no, the connectivity. And also, most of the students in a public school have no gadgets for the teaching and learning. So, because of that obstacle, uh, in our school, we opted the printed modular learning modality. So we know that in the using the printed modular learning modality, the teaching learning process is half baked, because there is just a sort of learning, no, by the learners using the module, but the teaching process is hampered. It is not channeled thoroughly, because they just simply using the self learning module. It should be There should be a teaching process with the teachers. However, there is no internet connection. It should be done in using the synchronous way of teaching to the students online. And the last one is the unavailability of the qualified home and community learning tutors. So, using the printed modular, so it is believed that the family members and the community teaching learning assistants play important role to replace or to be the alternative of the teachers in terms of teaching and guiding, mentoring or coaching the learners at home or in a certain city or in that village. However, based on the survey that we conducted, most of the parents or guardians have difficulty in tutoring their children. Aside from being busy working, uh, some also have they have no background in teaching the content. And for the side of the local government unit in the barangay, they focus more on the health concerns rather than on the educational process of the learners. As a result, their the output of the learners were poor, and as learners, the outcome of the teaching learning process is also poor. Thank you.
With the sharing we had with Sir Jason and Sir Rogelio on the experiences of our schools during the pandemic, we have agreed on the three common external factors that affect our schools. One is on increased population due to transfer of learners from private schools to public schools. Second is on slow to no internet connectivity. And the third one is on an availability of qualified home and community learning tutors. When classes reopened, adapting the new normal setup, we've observed that there was an increase in our population due to transfer of learners from private schools to public schools. So it really cannot be denied that the pandemic has affected the economic status of families. And even those who before can afford to send their children in private schools now opted to enroll in the public school for economical and practical reasons. Thus, there is really learning loss, and it is inevitable because there are lots of children to manage, and of course, we have this challenge and this gap on learning resources. With the condition of our locality having slow to no internet connection, we employ the modular printed learning modality. So during this time, teachers really need to be supported to prioritize pedagogical interaction with students by reducing administrative workload. So they're really focused on um, printing the modules, assessing the modules, distributing the modules, and of course, reaching out to students in order for them to monitor the engagement in distance learning. However, this was also a big challenge for all the teachers since we do not know what the students are doing at home and they are exposed to many activities that might not be related to their studies, just as more of our students are hooked in online gamings. And also, this time, there was really a need to enhance the quality and quantity of paper-based modules and enhance awareness of available learning modalities. So, teachers are taught not to rely on the modules, but also to make um, use of the available learning modalities or learning references or materials that are online or offline. So DepEd in our division is making many strategies in order to provide learning references and materials for teachers can be used for the learners. And also, there was a need to support teachers to provide accelerated catch-up programs for students. So during these times, since assessment is really, um, should we say, not reliable at times because we do not know who is or are answering the modules of the students sometimes. So with regards to assessment, um, we cannot 100% rely on the results of it. That is why we need to conduct catch-up programs like remediation to really assess the learning of the students. And of course, having all this employed, the teachers also need to ensure students' overall well-being. So not to really give stress to our students. And of course, in the other way around, also we have to um, take care of the well-being of our teachers because of course they cannot be as effective as they are if they are not also mentally, physically, and emotionally ready for the strategy. It also transpired in our sharing that there is an availability of qualified home and community learning tutors, and that is very correct since our parents are not trained to be teachers, though they're considered the first teachers of our children, but the techniques as to how to deliver or how to teach is not present in them. So my key learning points on this factor is that there is really a need to strengthen a communication between teachers and students. So since the teachers really need to step up, they have to do extra mile in order to reach the students. They do not really they cannot really rely on the parents or guardians as teachers alone, but they need to really assess or assist the parents. And then, of course, doing that, there is an engagement, of course, with parents and guardians. It is an active engagement, meaning in the communication process. And also, there is a need to improve the quality of the paper modules or the printed modules so as uh, it will be attractive and it will be easier for students to answer. And in that way, learning can be achieved. Also, there should be an enhanced awareness of the complementary platforms or means for teachers to reach out to students. Could be online, on call, or in person can be considered. So, meaning teachers or guardians and parents would not only rely to one means of communication, but exhaust all means so that the communication line would always be open and that every time students can be reached and also the teachers can be reached by the parents or the students. Teachers communicate with students in person on a small group or individual basis. So this can be done when teachers go to the communities and do home visit. Though this is quite risky for the teachers, but that is how proud we are with our teachers because they do extra mile in order to reach our students in order to really give remediation for students who have difficulty in the lesson or in learning the lesson. And also, frequent communication between teachers and parents and guardians is critical. So it is not only a mere communication and that should happen, but the communication should be that uh, truthful and that messages that or that the message that would be relayed by the parents to the teacher and vice versa would be that reliable, would be that sincere, and that the essence is of really on helping the student learn. And that would be all. Thank you.